Welcome one and all to another amazing night here in Tranquility.
We absolutely are in for a treat of a match here tonight, no question about it.
And the grenades from Pomku eliminate everybody on the field.
Damage from something as well is going to be applied there to Death Blossom, and it's going to be huge. Fighting 3.
The double kill with the Bastion ulti? Alright, I see you guys.
For B-Well, look to find a stick there, finds the stick, they find two with it!
Those who find the picks will save the fight, and they don't really need to save what they've already won.
And Cam with the 4-man punch off the map!
Experience tranquility.
Some of those might have been shaken up. I know he hasn't necessarily been the strongest pick, but who knows? There's always room for surprises. And I mean, with the playoffs, the NBA playoffs are also happening at the same time, and I think that this is the bigger event of the two. This is the one that you should be watching.
For sure.
There's going to be a lot of games coming over the next few weeks, so you'll make sure you want to watch all of it.
Yeah, this is the first round of the playoffs, not the only round of the playoffs. We've got a lot more to go, and we'll also update you on how some of the other playoffs are going, especially as we get later into the broadcast. With these two teams, you have Hades at 4-4, Hammerhead at 5-3, and you were talking a little bit about it. Hammerhead was heavily favored by the desk.
Yeah, Hammerhead is looking pretty strong coming into this match. And I mean, it was kind of like a sweep. I was watching the podcast a little bit earlier. If you aren't already subscribed or following the Twitch channel, you should make sure to hit that follow button. Make sure to listen to our Desk with the Iris podcast. They talk all about the series throughout the course of the season. So if you are new to Tranquility, or if you have been following along but haven't been following the podcast, then make sure to check it out. But that was the consensus that we were seeing from the desk, is that they were Hammerhead heads, you know? So we'll see maybe if Hades goes against the predictions, but I mean, at this point, it's anyone's game. It's the playoffs. Both of those teams have been grinding to try and get their spot and stay in that upper bracket.
The first round could always come with a few surprises, but we got to talk about that first map that we are going to see. Wiglaf is Antarctic Peninsula. It's the newest map that we've seen. Some teams have adapted to it. We're seeing some good comps come on it, and of course, the penguins, the most important part of the map.
Those penguins, they're a little bit distracting, right? They're so cute. You want to be staring at them. You want to be hanging out with the penguins. You think that you're in Surf's Up, you're hanging out, and then the enemy team just rolls up. That's how it goes on Antarctica. Antarctic, you need to be paying attention. You need to be looking in those tight brawl corners. But looks like we're going to be getting into it right now.
All right, we're not even taking any bit of time. We are already in the action. You kind of see the comps that are in there. Dueling Ramatras, the Mei, and Hanzo. So you'll see potentially a lot of baits with the Mei wall, maybe the slows with the Ramatra. Both these teams stand on the opposite ends, not truly engaging, but just like that, Ramatra has to go into that nothing form, has to just crawl his way out of it, and already we are just seeing the slow and sturdy fight that comes with it. But because Gomgon's immortality field was taken out early, that is going to allow Hammerhead to fully take this point. Should kill Dax right there. Yeah, just accepts his fate, and that point is swapped.
And it's so important to control that high ground, because from there, with the Mei, with the Hanzo, you can get in so much poke and chunk damage and begin to slowly build up those ultimates just over time, right? That's why you see them brawling, that's why you see them going up for that height and finding a big pick on the side of Hammerhead.
Swinging, coming on through the Hanzo, just trying to get any little bit of poke damage that he can, but Hammerhead just stay strong. They do not bend. And just now, Meek falling means that Hammerhead, they should be able to get about 15-20%, and they have ults building up. It's really not looking good for Hades with their low ult percentage.
Yeah, I mean, Hades actually has really strong point control right now. They have the Ramatra ult coming online. They have the Dragon to try and catch him out in one of these corridors, but it's not going to look good as they begin to move into point.
Ults being committed on both sides. The Fury is going to commit that immortality field, but will it be enough to save him? And you can just see that ult is being dedicated, and that will allow Hades to flip the point. Poppy is actually going to find a couple too, and a last-second contest from Saya. It's really not going to mean anything, except maybe a little choke at the end, but does get away. And Hammerhead, they are going to try to come back with 3 ults by their side, Wiglaf.
Those 3 ults are great for denying space here in those tight corridors to try and move in, try and zone out the defending team to be able to just get that opening that you need to then overtake that high ground, get those high angles, and get that advantage.
And we can see just how strong that Mei wall is. It cuts off these enemies, and now with the Blizzard being committed, Rune is really all by himself. The immortality is being used on both ends. Such a pivotal ability, but as Poppy finds one that takes out a source of healing and a source of damage, that right now, unless Dax hits a shot just like he does, there might not be a way to get back to this point. He does find a trade onto Obese Prodigy, and that might actually allow Hades to keep the point, but as Destin just has to back up, doesn't have any way to just hold on to this point, might be able to actually contest for just a little bit amount of time. He does, but right now, it's just really wasting the time. Sound Barrier is committed, Wiglaf, and that's a huge utility usage by Hades, but they're looking like they really want to commit.
That Sound Barrier usage is huge, because that's such a big just like opportunity to push that's just lost here. And with Hades having complete point control, it's in the trickling in on the side of Hammerhead, there's really not much of an opportunity for them to start to move in here. And at this point, it's just kind of cleanup with the solo Ramatra on point.
The good thing is, though, they did use a lot of ultimates, but they also did keep a lot of percentage. Like, I think a 30 extra, something along those lines. The name on the top actually are switched, so they're swapped. Hammerhead is the one that just locks the point. Hades is the one that is currently in control, looking to hold on for about 15 seconds. And they have 2 ultimates, 3 that they can use with Obese Prodigy getting that Blizzard online. But as Ramatra gets so low, Rune does have to get healed up, and Destiny's pushing forward directly to the enemy, but he just gets caught out. No chance to use that ultimate. A 4v4. Meek is going to try to turn things around with the Blizzard of his own, maybe take out a healer, but it clears the point in time, leaves Rune alone by himself with his Lucio by his side, and unfortunately for Meek, he just doesn't have the health, nor does he have the damage to help out in this engagement. But what a play by Pone. He's been able to stay alive. That has been enough to actually allow the Annihilation to come online. Rune's going to try to use that shield to help himself. Destin will be able to find a trade, but it is looking like it's going to be enough from Hades, just finding that last few players on point, and eventually 100% will be hit. So already a very hotly contested game.
It is just strong point control coming out from the side of Hades here. Rune is really able to hold it down in the center. Poppy is finding some great picks onto Hammerhead. It is just, that's what it's coming down to. It's just a pick here, a pick there. At this level of play, right, in the Transcendence Tier, where it's coming down to these singular mistakes, which can lead to snowballing into that kind of that triple effect, right, where Pound might feel like they need to commit that sound barrier to try and hold a point, but really it's just coming down to those singular mistakes here.
And it's mostly the same compositions on both sides. Meek is actually swapping onto that Cassidy instead of the Hanzo. So it's a little bit more consistent damage, but you do lose that high headshot damage that you do get. We'll see if the trade-off is going to be worth it overall, as with Hammerhead maintaining control of the point, there are going to be a lot of abilities utilized as Rune does flirt with death. Will he be able to stay alive? Are the heals enough? Unfortunately for him, it is not. And Hammerhead, they can heal on up, kill the rest of the remaining Hades players, and get this point.
What this team composition is all about, what we're seeing here, is that with the Mei wall, it's how can you isolate the enemy Ramatra, right? How can you time that immortality field? Really, those are the major factors that we're seeing here. And in that fight, right, Hammerhead was able to isolate Rune and just kind of begin to chip in and begin to, play around that timing of the immortality field and then move in and solidify that control. And that's what they're doing here again.
Yeah, that's really what you get out of the Mei, is just the ability to cut off any of those players. But Poppy just strikes first, takes out the Baptiste, and there's really no source of healing for Hammerhead. Meek actually commits the High Noon, which Poppy swiftly shuts down. So once again, we see ultimates getting utilized with not a lot of coverage by their side, but High Noon is a very hit or miss ultimate, so it's not going to be the biggest deal in the world.
It's high investment but high reward, right? Sometimes you need to put in some ultimates. I mean, really only one to try and flip the point here from the side of Hades, but it paid off, that's for sure. And that's what they're trying to do here, is that they're trying to, again, control this high ground, look for those early picks. That early pick from Poppy was absolutely clutch in opening up the point there. So we'll see how they're trying to brawl on the point from Hammerhead.
The window getting utilized, it's going to allow just so much damage to go on through, but just great ultimate usage by Dax, kills 2 and cleans off the point. So that was the thing about that fight. It was efficient. No time could be wasted, and Hades only at 30%.
Only 30%, but they are going to have the ult advantage coming in with the Annihilation coming online soon for Rune. And honestly, the Annihilation can just deal so much AoE damage that they'll definitely be looking to use that in the next fight when they start to just move on to the point. And with 2 ultimates down for Hammerhead, it's not looking great for this hole. They'll have to be real conservative and try and look for those picks early.
I think they could survive depending on the play. You can see a lot of them being utilized. The window is there. Poe actually does go down with the sound barrier, so that is going to have to be something dedicated for the future. But Obese Prodigy has to actually bring out the Blizzard, and Destined EMP might have wanted to keep that Annihilation for the losing fight, as it's just cleanup duty for Hades. They get to keep the Annihilation, they get to keep the sound barrier, and they have window for the next fight. If they can really drag this out, you could see them holding the point for a long time.
I mean, that is a 2 ults coming online for Hammerhead. That's what they wanted. They wanted to draw out those big AoE ultimates from the side of the Hades, right? Without that Mei freeze online, that Mei ultimate, it's tough to run to the point, right? You have an instant way to block them off.
And well, we see the impact of the Hanzo right there, with Poppy ending Meek in one singular arrow shot. So he's gonna have to come back from spawn, even though he does have that High Noon. We talked about how High Noon is, sometimes you can get a lot, sometimes you can't, especially with the Ramatra shield, the Mei wall. Oh, bomb goes down again, and there's no immortality kills, there's nothing of the sort. But Dax, he just has to put so much damage into this enemy. One more hit onto the Baptiste will surely give this fight on over to Hammerhead. The point might make it theirs as well. The commitment does come out from Pone. Just have to focus those 2 remaining players. And, well, it's 99 to 99 at this rate. The Blizzard is used. Desperation at this point. You may be able to take down 1, and not even that at that point. And the window will just be that final signifier of the end times for Hades. They put up a good fight in 95 to 99, but they do lose, and we go to the 3rd point.
Poppy is just getting so much value out of that Hanzo. You really need to respect it, right? Because if you're losing your support that early on in the fight, it's tough. It's really tough, right? Right at the beginning, when you lose that, it's just, that's basically game over when you lose your main source of heals.
I think we also saw a great job by Hammerhead in just adapting to how many early picks Hades was getting. You're absolutely correct. Like, Poppy was just being a demon on the Hanzo with these early picks, constantly sending just 1 or 2 players back in a spawn early on, but it changed how they went around. They brought out the Cassidy, which so far does seem to be a welcome change, but Hades, they've put up a couple changes. They bring out the Ana, bring out the Tracer, so a little bit more mobile, maybe wanting to flank that Ramattra. And Thomgo, what is it, 3 times now, Wig?
It's 3 times. That, like I said, it's tough when you lose your heals early, but I mean, that's a good thing for Hammerhead, right? I mean, we'll see them go on to start to make their move towards the point here, maybe get a little bit of early control as it starts to unlock, but I mean, yeah, Hades is gonna take it, right? I don't, I'm curious how this Tracer works out, right? You get a little bit more harassment. The Thomgo goes down again!
At some point, you just gotta sit down your head in your hands and be like, what am I doing wrong? Because Poppy is just that guy right now. He's shooting these arrows, and so far there has been absolutely no contesting from Hammerhead. You have Poppy on 60% ult charge. I think that is one thing that you can say is a win.
Free real estate.
It is free real estate, but there's not a lot of ult charge on both sides. So.
There is not, definitely. I mean, we're almost at a dragon here, right? And that pulse bomb can move up real quick.
Ooh, yeah, I think they finally got their revenge for Poppy taking out all of their players. The Maywall is just going to absolutely delete all of Rude's health. Does survive, does get healed up, and now the pulse bomb doesn't actually hit, but somehow it still got Thomgun. It always finds Thomgun in the end, so a much different point than these earlier ones, because Hammerhead have just not been able to put up a test in the slightest.
It's looking like dire straits here for Hammerhead. Hades has the ult advantage. They have the percentage advantage. They're really in this one fight territory. They're going to move into that real soon here. But if Nicc and Thomgo can make the most of their ultimates, you might see a flip here, right? That window can really help zone out the point and enable that push forward as they start to move the point.
Yes, well, it's if Thomgon can actually survive. Oh, a Nano Annihilation. It might be curtains for Hammerhead. There is a direct trade, but you can just see rushing forward. Having to take out the Ramattra is just easy pickings at this point for Hades. And now just having to utilize the sound barrier is just a tactic to waste time, maybe get a miracle of sorts. But if you only have the Tracer, the stick actually comes out. Rude is taken down, and the miracle came. Wiglaf, Hammerhead, they're able to swap the point and keep their dreams alive in this first map.
They're swapping, you know, that's the nice thing, right? Is that you can retain your ult charge. You swap to the Hammond real quick, and then you're able to get right back on the Ramattra. We'll see if the Kiriko can allow maybe a little bit more sustain, right? With the pulse bomb coming out, there could be a Suzu deflection play. They might be tracking that, so we'll see. There's a little bit more of a glass cannon coming here from Hammerhead.
Nicc. I have no idea how Nicc survived there, but he was an inch away from death, and Lightning Fury just finished him off. The sound barrier is committed on the side of Hades, just allows Rune to have so much health to tank, and with a little bit less damage on the side of Hammerhead, and now less healing of Pwn. It's gonna be up to Dax if he can take out a big source of the heal. He gets slapped, and he might be it in this fight and this round. Poppy does as he should, takes it out, and now with Nicc dealing a lot of damage to that Ramattra, it's just not enough, even though he finds one of Saya. This point should eventually be flipped, and with the point, the round and the entire map should go to Hades.
That was relatively tough for Hammerhead, right? They're straggling here onto the point. They're going to try and touch, but it's over at this point. And with all that work coming in from the Annihilation, we're consistently getting actually a touch here, a stick onto Hammerhead, falling short though.
Like you said, it's over. There wasn't any
over.
over.
It's like maybe we have
Yeah, I
one
know,
here.
you got
Well, there
the
could be another, right? Two
stick,
miracles.
but well, it happens sometimes. It was a very fun first 2 points, but I think that last one was just. And really, it was really just Hades overall. Poppy getting that play of the game, absolutely deserved. We can see them. This actually really wasn't the point that we saw them absolutely go hog wild. That was that final one, but you still see their impact nonetheless. So that first one, I hope it provided the excitement that you were looking for. I know it did for me, as we get to see a little bit of that Ramantra. Maybe the Life Weaver will show his head every now and then, but I think we're gotta keep our expectations low for.
Right, with the Life Weaver, we'll see. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe they feel a little cheeky, but it's really that Annihilation that's doing a lot of work here. When you're running those, I mean, the Nano Annihilation was just crazy, right? And being able to make that swap onto Ana, realizing that hey, maybe the mirror brawl isn't working the best for you at that moment. I think that was a great swap from the side of Hades. So I don't know. I think it's been pretty close these past few maps.
Yeah, the ability to keep your Amatra up with the grenade, the ability to have the anti onto the other Amatra, that is always going to be incredibly useful. And I mean, we didn't see the Tracer too much. I think we had both of those teams swap. But overall, it was really that Cassidy versus that Hanzo duo pick that we saw on each side that may have been the difference maker. We've received the information on what that second map will be. It's going to be King's Row. Everybody's favorite map. I mean, you can't hate this, right, Wiglaf?
It is the classic, right? This is the Reinhardt Mecca, right? This is where it all goes down. This is where you prove yourself. This is the Scrim map, right? Of all of them,
Scrim's Row.
Honestly, my favorite map. And I'm not just saying that. As someone who is a Lucio main, right? This is the one that I know the most rollouts on, to be honest. That's why.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty good, but Hades, they've got that lead, and I'm interested to see what they're bringing out. I mean, sometimes on this map, you will see something like a Widowmaker to try to get those early picks, and maybe we'll see Poppy on that, because they seem to be the sharpshooter on the side of Hades. But having a dueling Ramantra could be a thing in play, but I know that you don't actually have that ebb and flow that you might have on a point like Antarctic Peninsula, because you just can't play around point like that. It's a little bit more mobile, and you just have to keep pressing W, unlike when you're just consistently able to back up with that Nemesis form. So I like the current meta that Overwatch is in, but I want to see what these two teams bring to the table.
Same here. There's that ability, right, potentially for the Mei, if you're trying to do a little bit of zoning. I can see some sniper off angles here, some potential there from Poppy with the little high ground close to the statue. But it really depends. Do they want to play rush? Do they want to play another spam poke comp? Seems like Hades is definitely a fan of that spam comp. So I mean, we won't know until we get into it.
I mean, it works. It worked in the last map. Why wouldn't you bring it out if your opponent does seem a little bit weak to that? But a lot of it does come down to the tanks that they bring. So if you've got something like a Rhine who's consistently able to hold that shield, and with the amount of corners that King's Row has, Hammerhead would have to play a little bit silly for the Hanzo to constantly peek, find headshots. And I think you could definitely pressure a lot of this team back if you play it correctly. We're waiting to get on in. I think some of the players are having a little bit of trouble. And as I say that, we're getting ready for the action. We can talk about what is here. On the side of Hammerhead, they're bringing out that Diva. So no shields, but the ability to eat up all of those projectiles.
Definitely looking to just have that ability to counter the dive from here from Hammerhead, right, with that Brig Ana. combo, you can really get a strong peel with that D.Va. A lot of just mobility and potential to adapt. And Hades, that spam comp, like we were talking about. So interested to see how they approach this point and how they, whether or not Poppy is able to pop off.
One thing that is an interesting point of note, though, Wiglaf, Obese Prodigy was on the Symmetra for a very small time. Okay,
Oh my god.
there's Poppy. He killed Dax. He's now going to be able to jump onto those healers. The D.Va going to try to just push off as the break does provide a little bit of health. That is what she is known for. But losing your DPS that early is not going to be a lot of help. Your support is going to fall. Your second support falls as well. So, Wiglaf, even though Destin is going to be able to get the baby D.Va kill onto Obsess, I don't think this defense went as well as they thought.
It's tough when Poppy's finding those early picks.
Yeah.
It's what more can I say about this push? Really not much else. Maybe the fact that it's already halfway to the ultimate, but we'll see. This is going to be a tough corridor as well. Again, with that spam potential going in these close quarters, but swapping onto the Winston here from the side of Hammerhead, maybe in order to help deny those off angles again.
It seems like it's a good play because you have the ability to just immediately down yourself onto Poppy, put that shield over, and provide a curtain over him. But Destin just gets caught out behind enemy line, so he's taken out. And now it's just another defense that has to back off. There really hasn't been a contest from Hades overall. Hammerhead has just been able to push this card forward. They should be able to get it close to that third corner, and only then will Destin be back, because you can just see with how far Rune is pushing up, this is going to be an ugly defense if they want to get it done.
And with control of that high ground, it's going to be tough. You're going to have to invest some resources in order to retake space here, regroup, rethink, see maybe there's an open potential for a pick, maybe look at that Echo to try and contest. But there's really not too much Hammerhead can do here. They're kind of shoved into a corner.
And with Rune just separating the two, you're going to have the double Winston as well. You have the Primal Rage. This is not going well in any form of the word. Thomgo is getting bullied. And for a second there, I thought Rune was going to pop the Primal, and then he would just have like a ping pong game back and forth of the Ana. It's only a little bit of contesting for Destin. About the only contesting that we've actually seen from Hammerhead so far. Well, 5 minutes to capture point 3, and this is already looking like a huge time bank is awaiting this team.
And equal levels of ultimates right now. 3 online from both teams, with the overclock potentially able to do massive amounts of damage from me. That's going to be a main source here. If Poppy can shut down Destin DMP.
There's been no level of really anything from Hammerhead, because Destin has only just been caught out, straggled, whether that's been the shield or whether that's been just a lot of this tank pressure from Rune, who does use that Primal Rage just to push this Sojourn back. It's not going to be a kill on their side, but right now, I don't think there's been a kill from Hammerhead. I'm going to be 100% honest. I think there has been absolutely nothing. Destin does use that Primal Rage to try to get something, but he's just really only wasting time at this point with him.
Dax was able to win the 1v1 in the backline and also get that stick onto Rune, but I don't know if it's going to be enough here to help deter Hades from the point.
There's 2. Poppy does take out the healer of Thongo, but he's now the only one left with a couple healers by his side. So they stop the cart at the final seconds, but there's so much time to really ramp up your ultimates and push that cart over the third point.
Almost is not enough, right? You need to still cap the point, but it's looking tough with only the Nano coming online soon. And with the Echo ultimate and the Nano happening, you're gonna have a Nano Monkey just already in your face, even in your backline, jumping in there. And they're setting up for it right now. They're setting up for that play, controlling that high ground, looking for an early pick. even though Dax is looking to harass the support line of Hades.
Beast actually does have that ability to just copy anyone he wants. The dual Winstons in the backline. They both trade the Anas, but Rune just can't get that kill onto the Cassidy. The Brig, you take that as Destin is just in the backline of the entire map trying to take out the support. He's going to have to come back at the last second just to provide some sort of help, but it might be too little too late for this tank. The ultimate's actually used from a Beast Prodigy in their ultimate. I think with only Rune left, Hammerhead once again stave off defeat.
They do stave off defeat, and Rune is able to somehow get out, but they're able to get a pulse bomb out of it. Honestly, they're holding the point very well right now. They're making the best of a bad situation, eating away at that time bank. And Destiny B is even going to fend off Poppy, right? The Hanzo that's been causing so much trouble. They might be adapting to the playstyle here, learning where to deny that space, learning how to, again, stop Hades from being able to just roll over them.
And with the Beast Prodigy swapping onto the Tracer as well, you don't have as much help when you're trying to contest that high ground as Rune. Like, he can hop on up, but instead of having an Echo by his side, it's just going to be his lonesome self up there pushing off the tank. And with the ultimates coming online for both sides, I think any momentum that was there has started to fall away. Just as I say that, it is a two-piece for Hades, with now 3 there in the corner of Poppy. Trade does start to happen. Pone has to stay alive, so close to the ultimate, but doesn't get it in time. And now Primal Rage, designed to waste time. Keep players off the objective, is gonna have to do its job here, as it's only the Winston with 1 health eventually will fall. And so far, Hammerhead, they really didn't look good with 5 minutes left to contest that 3rd point, but so far they've done a stellar job.
They have been doing work. They have been responding to Rune's jumps. Dax in the backline being able to find picks, Meek in the front line being able to, or not necessarily in their front line, but Meek also being able to put on that steady damage. So, I mean, they're even forcing Hades to swap here.
But Dax was just there. Takes out Poppy, and what can you do about this Tracer in your backline when you're also having to worry about the tank on your front line? You're just gonna be able to get away those blinks so powerful. 30 seconds left for Hades to try to push this card over after having the best time bank in the world. 3 ultimates. Can they do it?
That Nano might do some work here. Poppy trying to look for a pick, and it's gonna find it onto Tongu again.
Beautiful shot. He's gonna try to separate. The sleep is there, and then might be another confirm, another kill. And with the Brig falling, Hades just have to worry about these 2 players on the card. Can the shots hit for Poppy? He's trying to barely get it, but Destin is there. He gets the confirm. And right now, Ramatra has a huge health bar that just has to be chipped through. And Hammerhead, what a wonderful job they did with not a lot of momentum on their side. They really did turn the tide.
I can picture the comms right now, right? With Dax looking for that chip damage, a beautiful follow-up from Destin as well. It's really impressive how they were able to take that from what was it, a 5-minute time bank?
It was a 5-minute time bank.
That is no easy feat. That is playoffs content right there. That is playoffs in a nutshell, right? You dig deep, you find the synergy between you and your teammates, take a good look at what's going on, and be able to adapt, because otherwise you're gonna get sent to the lower bracket.
I'm gonna be honest. I think a lot of that came down to Destin. As the Winston, they were able to just provide so much pressure onto the midline of Hades to separate their tank and their DPS and supports, kind of like what we saw Hades actually do in the previous map. As the Winston, he had the healing, he was able to consistently do that as well, keep the high ground, and that's a huge part of it. It's why you bring the Winston. You have that mobile ability, you have the shield, And no surprise, he's gonna stay on the Winston, but Rune on the Ramatra. Swap to that at the last second. We'll see how that goes.
We'll see how the sniper duels goes down between Poppy and Meek, except Meek's gonna swap, so I guess we won't be seeing that. And a cheeky Widow pick might have been nice, but they're gonna stick with the bread and butter for now.
Yeah, no real reason to go. You would usually get that for like an early pick. Maybe you do come with a risk, but having that consistent Cassidy that we mentioned is always going to be better. And Meek has been helpful as well, but now the just tank makes the jump over to the high ground onto that healers, and Poppy has no chance to work his magic onto this Hammerhead backline. Rune can't even go into Nemesis for him. That is how efficiently Hammerhead worked on that first point, and it's a little reminiscent of how Hades were on their attack.
I was about to say, yeah, is this deja vu? Because we might see the same thing. I mean, if we end up with another 5-minute time bank, who knows? But it seems like Dax and Destin really have found their flow together. And with the Kiriko now, it's going to be tough to even disrupt the backline, disrupt that healing, because you can just jump away. You and the Lucio, right? Also very mobile.
Dax just gets caught out, and that might keep Hammerhead from actually utilizing the momentum that Hades had on their attack. And you can see with Destin having to just swap on back, Thomgo will be able to get away with that swift step, so it's not the end of the world for the Hammerhead attack, because they'll be able to get Dax immediately able to push in with Destiny if he just jumping right on in, but they have to be careful of getting caught out like Dax was.
They have to be careful, especially with that Pulse Bomb finding a stake, but it's not going to be enough for them to go down here. Instead, Hammerhead's going to continue the brawl. They're going to keep marching forward, and they are going to find another pick onto Rune.
Flaming Fury has to utilize that grenade to keep himself alive, and it will be enough just to sustain the Hades defense, but you're not actually seeing true team fights. You're seeing one player goes down, the team has to back off. One player goes down, the team has to back off. It's not a lot of confidence on both sides, but Hammerhead are still in the lead.
And I mean, that's what Dive is all about. These little skirmishes where you look for those picks. With 4 ultimates coming online, almost 5, Hammerhead's looking like they're in an advantage.
What could Poppy do there? What could Poppy do there, Wiglaf? You have 2 players on you, get shredded, and Flaming Fury just trying to dodge, dive, and weave his way over to victory as the Annihilation does get utilized. To talk about the AoE power that it has, and with Pwn so low, it might actually help just to have that small bit of damage that Annihilation gives you. But as it eventually falls away, and the Sound Mirror is utilized by Seiya, I think these ultimates will be enough to truly push Hammerhead away from this attack.
That was a great beat from Seiya. She really was able to help sustain that against that push from Hammerhead, because for a second there, that's what it takes with Brawl, is that you can disengage and then come back, and sometimes you need that little extra push to be able to say, hey, this really is our point. You can't be here.
I think the part of that is you don't lose too much, because Pwn doesn't have the sound barrier as well. It's only a 10% advantage. Meek now using that high noon. It's gonna try to just speed him through in the 1 second. Gonna get anything. It gets 2. What a great play by this team just to try to hurry it forward with a cart to get anything done. And, well, that's a unique play if I've ever seen one.
You're able to just push that front line back with the Primal Rage and make that space, because really that's the thing about High Noon, is that if you want to pull that off, if you want to hit that double, that triple kill, you need to invest abilities into it. Otherwise, you're gonna be walking slow, making your way here downtown, and might get picked by Poppy. Who knows?
I mean, Meek was walking fast right there, making his way downtown, walking fast. Cases were passing, and he eventually killed them all. We see another team fight happening. Dax does have that pulse bomb, and he is just looking for a juicy target to take down. As Poppy has swapped off the Hanzo for the first time in this series, and he's not having as much fun on Reaper. More Dax engagement in that backline, and we actually cut to that Tranquility Stinger to Hammerhead, winning the fight. And they're going to be able to continue to push for not 5 minutes, but they're still looking as strong as ever.
It's looking good for Hammerhead. They figured it out. They figured out the formula. Hades, they're swapping heroes. They're scrambling a little bit. They're going to have to buckle down on this last fight and really pull together to be able to fend off Hammerhead, especially having these 4 ultimates online. It's stacked in their favor with the High Noon coming out.
The pulse bomb there as well, and High Noon, it does a lot of damage, but doesn't actually get any kills. But Meek's gun will do the damage instead, finds both of the supports, and unfortunately, there's just no support behind that annihilation, and ticking ever closer to the box of victory. I don't know if it would have got anything, but Hammerhead have a great defense on King's Row, potentially even better attack, and they take the second match.
Hammerhead really found their footing. They just found out the formula, and the formula for a while was, hey, just kill Poppy, right? let's take out that damage, because there are just so many picks coming out from the side of Hades that we need to shut it down. And that dive comp is perfect for that. And not only is that dive comp perfect for that, but they discovered that, hey, when we're playing this Winston, when Meek is popping off, we can really invest our resources and enable him to the best of our ability. And that's what happened, right? Even in that last fight, we saw that with the beat invested, that beat speed boost, High Noon. That's the bread and butter for Cassidy, right? That's how you get it done.
Mm-hmm. And I think overall, we just saw a very different Hammerhead, and maybe that just was how a King of the Hill just wasn't their style, because they seemed a lot more comfortable pushing on the attack, constantly having an objective to reach for, or an objective to defend, instead of just trying to play back and forth like they did on King of the Hill. And Hades, I mean, Poppy was there on the attack, but I'm trying to think. I don't think they got a single pick like they did on the defense, and a lot of that was because Winston was in their face every single waking moment of the side. It was always just going to be destined right in Poppy's face, and that's why you had to swap to the Reaper, but it just still wasn't as effective because it was shut down by Meek. Every single pick that Hades had was counterpicked by Hammerhead, and it's going to make an interesting series going forward.
I mean, Dax too, right? Dax in the back line, just making it so that Hades couldn't support their tank. It was some really good synergy coming out from the DPS line and the DPS in the tank line from Hammerhead. It's interesting to see when a team adapts and they're able to figure out that, hey, maybe mirroring isn't the best thing here, even if that is the quote-unquote strongest team comp on that map, right? And you really just decide to play to your strengths. Sometimes that's how you come out on top, right?
Mm-hmm. And with that, we're going to go to a quick break. It's halftime. Hades won, Hammerhead won. We are going to be back with the second half action of the first round of the Transcendence Tier playoffs.
when we were 15. I remember car rides, small fights, conversations all night. I never saw you as anything more than a friend, but now I see you in a new light. We're getting older, there's a sparkle in your eyes that wasn't there before. You give me butterflies, it makes me wonder if there could be something more. We were only kids when we first met. Now let's discover what we haven't yet.
Tranquility halftime show. We got a great game on our hands. We got Hammerhead versus Hades. Currently, the score is 1-1, and we're looking at a great match with Hammerhead taking the second map and Hades taking that first control map. Any thoughts on the match so far?
I mean,
You go,
go
Dab.
ahead, Nerf. Okay, well, I guess I'll go. Honestly, it's looked pretty balanced. I mean, first map, you saw they played all 3 control maps. They went pretty close. A lot of teams got 99, 99. And I think overall, it's just you see the strengths of Hammerheads and Hades come out on their respective maps. Like, I mean, I guess I can transition to this into like the player I want to highlight, which is Nicc. Like, I saw Nicc pop off so many times in the kill feed, just playing that cast, getting those aim kills, pretty skillful. So, honestly, good job to Nicc for being such a go aimer.
Yeah, I'm very surprised by this result. Hades was not a team that I had rated particularly very highly. I think in my bracket on Monday, I had them going out like 06 on maps. But they're taking Hammerhead, who is a team that I rated very, very highly. They're taking Hammerhead the distance, and while the series started to shift a lot more in Hammerhead's momentum, it was definitely very even, at least for the first significant portion of that match. So, good job, Hades, for definitely proving my expectations wrong.
Yeah, I definitely also thought Hammerhead would be pretty. I thought it'd be a close match for sure, but I definitely thought Hammerhead would take probably 3-0. But I think one of the players that surprised me the most is Poppy, just especially on the Hanzo on their attack on King's Row. He looked like he was just making so many great plays, and Rune was able to shut down that Ana in such an amazing way that it's really hard to shut down Ana with the current meta, especially with the Brig right next to them. But Rune just gave so much space for that Hanzo to get picks on that attack, especially on that third point, which ended up not giving them the full cap, but they did get quite a bit of distance on that third point.
Oops.
So, want to look at in the halftime is this attack that Hades had over 5 minutes whenever they were going into the third point, but unfortunately they were not able to full cap, and part of that is just due to great play by Hammerhead, but I think also a big part of it was that Rune just couldn't find his footing and how to fully take control of this map, and then again shutting down the Ana is so difficult. So we can go ahead and